I think you know, I don't like formality. Just informal. My reason in a life, most important two things, birth and death. These two things happen. No formality. Between there, we sometimes too much emphasis formality. I don't like. And myself, as with the name of Dalai Lama, so too much formality in Tibet, I don't like. So now, the reality, we are same human being. Physically, mentally, emotionally, we are same. And then important thing is, now some scientists say, basic human nature is more compassionate. Because I think we are social animal. Any social animal, in order to survive, one individual, you have to take care the rest of the community. Without them, you can't survive. That's nature. So we are social animal. Because of that, as soon as born, you see, mother takes maximum love, show maximum love, take care. And we also, as soon as born, we don't know the person, but biologically, emotionally, totally rely on that person. So that's human nature. And then, if we keep the sense of community, taking care community, then the person much happier. So now problem is, when we are young, say 6, 7 years, the children don't care the other children's religious faith or nationality. Don't care. There is, I think, pure spirit of sameness of human being, I feel. Play together. Then gradually we join education. Then we, you see, sort of emphasis different religious faith, different nationality, and different color. So I always, you see, a little critical the existing education system. We neglected basic human value. The education, so-called, I usually call modern education, come from West. How many Englishmen here? All English. So the India, the so-called modern education, introduced by Britisher. The Britisher, I think the world, Europe, main sort of, what's the thinking is Christianity, according to Christianity. the very much cultural heritage related with Christianity. Then Middle East, Islam. Both, emphasis, pray to God. In this country, I think over 3,000 years, Sankhya philosophy. There are two groups. One group accept Creator. One group do not accept Creator. And then afterward, Jainism, also no concept of Creator. Then Buddhism, also no concept of Creator. So therefore, importance of self-creation. And then meantime, according the Indian tradition, including Jainism and Sankhyaism, all have the sort of concept of self, independent self. Usually we call Atma. Beside this body, the real owner of this body and mind is Atma, self, independent self. So that self, no beginning, no end, life after life, go like that. So that's self-creation. And Buddhism also is like that. Except Buddhism do not accept separate, independent self. Self mere designated on the combination of physical and mind. So some people in ancient time in this country, Buddhism, they call nihilism, no independent self, but self just mere designated. So in any way, in this country, those who school of thought, no creator, self-creation, and also is the concept of life after life. Then, they realize training our mind is important. Over 3,000 years, in this country, the concept of, ahimsa and karuna. Ahimsa, non-violence, and karuna, infinite love. So emphasis these things, inequality. In order to practice these things, you have to know the whole system of our emotion, our mind. So in this country, over 3,000 years, already developed in order to tackle our mind, the single-pointed meditation, shamatha, and analytical meditation, vipassana, over 3,000 years, already developed in this country. So pay more attention about our inner world, our mind. So those tradition, the concept of creator, then emphasis prayer, God. Not much mention of faith important, but not much mention training, the way to training our mind, our emotion. That's in this country over 3,000 years. So now today, I really feel world, I think, on some level, some emotional crisis. And we too much emphasis superficial differences, neglect oneness of same human being on the basis of different faith, different color. In this country, unfortunately, caste system. These are very bad. So when we ask children, they don't care. So that spirit, oneness of human being, is very important. Now modern education, as I mentioned earlier, too much emphasis on the superficial or say the differences. And also the modern education, since it's come from West, so beside faith, God, then education mainly, you see, concentrate material value. So modern education is something materialistic, oriented about material value. So materialistic sort of education. So the whole generation, through that kind of education, then eventually create materialistic life, materialistic culture. When we say materialistic life, we very much sort of utilize 5 senses of organs, not mental. Usually we call chit, sixth mind. So usually, you see, the materialistic life, something, important, seeing something nice, or hearing sound, nice sound, and smell, and taste, and touch, including sex. All these sensorial level, not main mind mental level. During sleep, sensorial consciousness no longer. Sixth mind still there. So now important is we should think more about the nature of main mind, because these emotions related with many emotions, such as anger, attachment, fear, jealousy, these destructive emotions related with sixth mind. So while you feel angry, strong anger, seeing something nice, but not much effect, isn't it? Hearing some music, nice, but main sixth mind combined with anger, then not much use. So main sort of the kasuda. Among the mind, the main sort of kasuda, the shugi
the main thing that impacts
is sixth mind. So modern psychology from the West is just talking about these sensorial consciousness or experiences. Now it is important to think more about main mind. Then through training main mind, those destructive emotions which come from, which come together with main mind, then can change, can reduce, such as anger. this through training of sixth mind. When the sensorial level, some, because of the fearful appearances or fearful sort of noise, but you can maintain peace of mind. So sensory level, not the main because of feeler or main mind. Main mind is the sixth mind. So now, time come, we should pay more about mind. So these days, I expressing in kindergarten level. From kindergarten level, we teach the hygiene of physical. It is very important in order to take care of one's own physical health. Very good. But meantime, we should include hygiene of emotion. We can easily, you see, explain to student or children. For example, my own case, when I was very young, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years with my family, I love my mother because mother always showing a smile. I had not much love towards my father, so occasionally he beat me. So the child do not know, but as far as smile, kindness, the children very much sort of appreciate, isn't it? So therefore, now we materialistic life and education, too much emphasis on superficial level of differences. Now time come, we must promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. We can learn children, as I mentioned earlier. So long, smile, playing together, same. So oneness of 7 billion human beings. On superficial level, there are differences. So with too much emphasis on differences, then these conflicts happen. And it is quite a big contradiction. Believe God, Creator, almost like our Father. That Father, infinite love. And all 7 billion human beings are children of that kind of Father. How can kill each other? We all children of one Father. If you seriously or sincerely believe that, then 7 billion human beings from one Father, like that. And then according to those people who have no the concept of Creator, then we are social animal. Individual's life very much depend on the rest of the community. Now today's reality, the whole 7 billion human beings are actually one community. Easterner. East depend West. West depend East. Similarly, South, North. So, because of technology and because of lifestyle and education, now whole world just one human community. So, through education, we should include education about inner value. Today's modern education, only brain. So sometimes you say education, without moral principle, then sometimes create more problem. So education, brilliant brain, combined with warm-heartedness, then that education truly become constructive. Isn't it?
Yes.
So now we really need more effort in our education. We should include education about our inner world. So whether believer or non-believer, we all have this body, brain, and heart. We all come from our mother. So we actually know the affection, love is so important. Even animal, dogs. Sometimes, you see, I ask some people, some scientists, the insects or fly, see, some small brain there. So brain, which level have the ability to appreciation? Dogs, birds, yes, certainly. If we show them affection, they appreciate. So my question is, mosquito have that sort of part of brain or not? When my mood is good, and then you see, almost is certain, no, because of malaria, right? Oh, then I give blood to mosquito. Then that mosquito enjoy my blood, and the whole body become red. Then at the end, few drops from the mosquitoes, the bottom, few bubble, then fly. No sign of appreciation. So I really, you see, want which size of brain have the ability to show appreciation. Some occasion I asked some scientists, so far no answer. So now, whether accept religion or not, this moral principle is something very important. So according to Indian tradition, secular means no differences, believer or non-believer. That's very good. Some of these concepts come from religious text, but we should take these academic subject, and also you see subject for health or happiness. Okay. So now these days I'm, you see, committed. These knowledge in this country over 3,000 years already there. So that ancient Indian sort of tradition about how to tackle our emotion should combine with modern education. So world need some education, how to tackle our emotion, how to create warm-heartedness. So that from Indian tradition, there is sort of ability or sufficient. So modern India should combine ancient Indian thought, Indian education, how to build peace of mind, plus modern education. I think only India have the ability to combine these two things, isn't it? I think the previous century, the Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violence, I think really demonstrated on this planet non-violence struggle very important. So like Nelson Mandela and Bishop Tutu, and then America, Martin Luther King, and so on. These people, so much attracted Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violent struggle. I think quite old, the former president or something, I can't remember now. I remember very clearly his face, but his name I can't remember. Very nice. He once, at a meeting in Madras, he praised or he appreciated, I choose as a become refugee, I choose the place India, not America. At a public meeting, you see, he mentioned like that. So in any way, those ancient, those also the old Indian leaders are wonderful, as I mentioned earlier. Now time come in 21st century, I think India should demonstrate how to tackle our emotion. That's important through education, not through prayer, not through ritual. Simply how to tackle our destructive emotion as a universal way, like that. So I'm trying to revival of this ancient Indian knowledge from kindergarten level up to university level. India is the only nation who can combine ancient Indian knowledge with dealing peace of mind and modern education can combine. So that's my age, 84. So remaining few years, perhaps another 10 years or maximum 20 years, I dedicated to revival. I have three commitment. Number one commitment, I always consider I am one of the 7 billion human beings. So happiness of the 7 billion human beings is our basic right. And then, in order to carry happy life, peace of mind is very essential. Money, power, but mainly the motivation. So, as one of the 7 billion human beings, my commitment, number one commitment is try to show other people the ultimate source of happy life is peace of mind. That usually is in anger is the troublemaker. So the antidote of anger is compassion. Compassion, not just religious matter. It's, as I mentioned earlier, hygiene of emotion. So my number one commitment is try to share more people the importance of our inner value, compassion, that we learned from our mother right from the beginning. Then number two commitment is religious harmony. I am Buddhist. So when I see in the name of different religion killing each other in Middle East and next our neighbor Afghanistan, and the same Muslim but Shia and Sunni, and in Middle East like Egypt, some problem between Christian and Islam, and Syria in this area, same Muslim. But the Shia and Sunni. Terrible. All these religions carry same message of love, forgiveness, tolerance. Yet, you see these different traditions causing division and killing. Unthinkable. So my second commitment is try to promote religious harmony. Religious harmony, very possible. Look, India, over 2,000 years, besides India's own homegrown different religious tradition, from outside, from West, Christian, Islam, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, all come to this country and settle very well, no problem. So religious harmony, India, not a small country, quite big country. Now I think the most populated nation is China. The second, India. 1.1 or 2 billion, India. Quite a big nation. And South India, East India, West India, Central India, different culture, different language, different script. But we all live together. No problem. India's union, I think, wonderful, correct? Oh. One occasion, I was in the Assam, Kasatudi, Manipur. And then at a press meeting, some people asked me they want independence. Then I told them, oh, you are a small community, and much better remain India's union. Small, in the past, there's so many rajas, isn't it? So the different rajas, you see, become independent. Then I don't think today's India, this kind of situation may not come. So union is very important. So I always admire European Union. The First World War, Second World War, all these different nations, mainly German and French, killing each other. After Second World War, then under the leadership of de Gaulle and Adenauer, now they realize common interest is more important than individual national interest. But national interest also is very much based on common interest. So they start a European Union. Because the European Union developed last few decades, no killing among the European Union states. If European Union not yet developed, then I think last few decades, I think some killing may take place. So therefore, in my own sort of case, I am not seeking separation from China. Usually we call middle way approach. Not seeking independence, but remain within the People's Republic of China. And we should have certain right which mentioned in their own constitution. So I very much admire the union, the spirit of European Union. But some Englishmen, now they are trying to leave European Union. Of course, that's your business, not my business. But I feel, much better remain within the Union. Huh?
So do I.
Then, not only European Union, I feel the spirit of European Union eventually should start in Africa, firstly Northern Africa, some kind of union. And then Latin America. That's the only way. And with firm belief we are same human being. Any problem we can solve. Never use weapon. Then eventually this world should be demilitarized world. How many money wasted making weapon, and including the nuclear weapon. But nobody dare to use that. Then waste of money. So eventually this world, more compassionate world, whenever some problem happen through dialogue. So this century, I usually telling, this century should be century of dialogue. Whenever we find some problems, through talk, not use weapon. Like that. So that's my, and religious harmony is possible. So that's my number 2 commitment. And then, third commitment, regarding Tibet, I, in the secular way, secular way, chipsy, political matter, the first Dalai Lama, second Dalai Lama, third Dalai Lama, fourth Dalai Lama, purely spiritual leader, and wonderful. Then fifth Dalai Lama, because of particular circumstances, he took the responsibility, temporal responsibility. So then Dalai Lama institution become head of both temporal and spirituality. Now that, when I was in Tibet, I already sort of noticed that system is not good. I really admire democracy. So, 1950, I took the responsibility, about temporal responsibility. Then I think around 52, I already started a reform committee to change. Then 54, came to India, become a refugee. So then, as soon as we reach India, we start at once work for democratization. Then eventually, you see now, since 2001, we already have elected political leadership. I retired. So now my main concern regarding Tibet is ecology, Tibet ecology, roof of the world, and dry climate. So some ecologists, they say, under such sort of circumstances, high altitude and dry climate, they say, once ecology thing damage, it take more time recover. So we need special care. Then we already noticed the global warming, very serious. The Mongolia, now they already facing, say, less snowfall. Many animals dying. In Tibet also, now less snowfall. And Dharamsala also. I came here 1960. That winter, a lot of snow. Then each year, less and less and less. So global warming, very serious. So then Tibet, usually I describe, we are supplier of water to India. and Bangladesh and Afghanistan, Pakistan. So you Indian, you see, although the major rivers, Brahmaputra and Ganges and Khasachudi. So these rivers come from Tibet as a part of People's Republic of China. But the user of these water, Indian and Bangladesh and Pakistanis. So you also have some right to show concern about keep because of the pure water and especially taking care about, ecology in Tibet. So our Indian friend, I think purely, not a political matter, but just purely the ecology. So you are, I think, over a billion human beings using water come from Tibet. So you have some right to show your concern. Okay. So taking care. Here, my friend, one Chinese ecologist, he described Tibetan plateau is third pole. Reason, effect, the global warming from Tibetan plateau as much as South Pole and North Pole. So he described Tibetan plateau is third pole. It is true. So we need special care. Then Tibetan culture. I usually used to telling you Indian, traditionally our guru, we are chela. And I chela means student, guru, teacher. All our knowledge, and including Tibetan script, copy from India, not from Chinese. Sometimes I feel, I express some, kasure. Kasure.
Teasing.
So some teasing. Tibetan emperor, the 7th century, he married with Chinese princess. So certainly he enjoyed Chinese food and Chinese beauty. But as far as the letter is concerned, he found Chinese letter is too complicated. So he preferred develop new script, Tibetan script, which copy from India's Devanagari. And the Kakakanga, Chachachanya, like that. So he quite funny. He enjoy, including Chinese, wife, and all those Chinese rich food. I think sometimes I also see expressing food is concerned, Chinese food is much lavish, lavish, and variety. India, dal, rice, and that, like that. So he enjoyed these things, but his heart towards India. So he developed Tibetan script, copy from Indian script. Then similarly, 8th century, his mother, Chinese, very close link already. But then China already developed Buddha Dharma. And one important statue of Buddha come from China, which kept in Lhasa. So, very close. But the 8th century Tibetan emperor, Tibetan king, found as for Buddhism is concerned, he prefer take directly from India rather than through China. So he invited, at that time, Nalendra, very much sort of
At its peak.
no, Nalendra, I think, very much
University.
flourishing. So at that time, the top scholar of Nalendra institution is Rakshita, the Tibetan emperor, Tibetan king, 8th century. He invited that scholar, great scholar and a logician. His writing still there. We, including our it included our study text, like that. So he also, you see, once his mother on Chinese had a very close link with Chinese, but their main sort of thinking India. So that great master of Nalendra, Rakshita, invited to Tibet. So he introduced Buddhism according to Nalendra tradition, that is Sanskrit tradition. We expensively use logic. Buddha himself used to express, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." That's very scientific way. So many Nalendra masters rejected some Buddha's own sort of teaching, some text. If you accept this Buddha's teaching, because literally, it goes against reason. So we must reject. So many Nalendra masters, like Nagarjuna and the Jantakiti, these rejected some Buddha's own sort of word. So the Nalendra very much emphasis on reason, experiment. So today, the follower of Nalendra tradition, we can sit together with modern science, modern scientists, and discuss visual learning. Like quantum physics, it's the same subject, visual learning. And then psychology, we have much more knowledge than modern scientists. Like that. So this very room, many occasions discussing with modern scientists, mainly 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, and then physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. If may I say so, in front of European, as a result of discussing with modern scientists and psychologists, then the knowledge in this country, India, about psychology, highly developed. So modern psychology, compare ancient Indian psychology, then modern psychology looks like kindergarten level. Truly, Indian psychology highly developed. And all this through experiment and reasoning. So we Tibetan, we kept all these knowledge since 8th century. Whereas Nalendra completely ruined the original base. India itself, not much knowledge, these things. So now, the whole world, I think only Tibet and Mongolia, we kept this Nalendra tradition. The way to kept not some ritual, but study. in Tibet in the past, in order to become a scholar, at least 20, 30 years study. The way of study is firstly root text memorize. Me too, 6, 7 years old, I already started to memorizing. So at that time, I really feel burden, not much interest. The time come about my lesson, then whole sky become like dark. But Tibetan tradition, even High Lama, Dalai Lama, no exception, normal way, study. So these root text memorize. Then commentary, mainly wrote by Indian master, then Tibetan masters. Then we extensively use debate, logical approach. So therefore, when we discuss with scientists, our thinking, very much scientific way, not faith. So we can learn. I also, you see, describe myself half Buddhist monk, half scientist. Even some Buddhist concept, some Buddhist literature mentioned, if goes against the scientific finding, then we have right to reject. We accept through reasoning, through experiment. That's more important than just faith. So today, the Buddhism in general, particularly Nalanda tradition, can go side by side with modern science. As a result, mutual learning, very good. So, Tibetan knowledge about Nalanda tradition, I really feel worthwhile to preserve. And Tibetan spirit come from that knowledge. So since Chinese is very much control Buddhist study, but Chinese fail to eliminate the Buddhist knowledge or Buddhist study. So now, over 70 years past, the Chinese, those hardliner, in spite of their lot of effort, fail to eliminate Tibetan spirit. Because Tibetan spirit very much linked with Buddhist faith. And Buddhist faith, now outside the world, including some scientists, really is showing interest. So some of these Chinese hardliner, previously they consider any religion is a blind faith. Now they believe communism looks like a blind faith. Isn't it? Socialism. My great friend, the Kongsha Sarva, the former president of Israel. Karen, Shimon Peres. You see, he socialist. He when previous many years ago is some Nobel laureate meeting. Some Nobel laureate very sympathetic towards Tibet, so they very criticize Chinese policy. Then he, as a socialist, a little bit protect China. Then after, I think, at least 7-8 years, then I met one occasion, and I asked him, now China, today's China, socialist country, do you think still socialist country? And his answer is, no longer socialist, worst kind of capitalism. Lot of corruption, isn't it? Huh? Poor Chinese. No, was it very difficult. I met some Chinese farmer. Oh, their condition very poor. Then I inquire about their own area. Then they say, no proper rule, judiciary sort of as organization controlled by party. So local officials, their only concern is money. So they use their power for making money. Never pay much attention for poor villagers. So I think it is Shimon Peres' sort of expression, worst kind of capitalism. So they are sort of single-pointed faith towards communism become like blind faith. Now changing, China also now changing. Today, the Buddhist population in China, nearly 400 millions. So many of these Chinese Buddhists now begin to realize Tibetan Buddhism is authentic scientific religion. So more and more Chinese now showing as a faith, follow Tibetan Buddhist tradition. So now, I think that's all. Oh, few questions. Yes. Yes. Oh.
Respected sir, I got a question. I have been performing Vipassana meditation, taught to me by our respected uncle and our guru, S.N. Goenkaji. In this process of performing Vipassana, I find that we are observing our sensation, our emotions, which are just creating every moment of time through the breathing and all those things. Now, I find that slowly, whatever emotions which are there in the unconscious mind are getting eradicated. I find that one. My question here is, in case if I find that all my emotions which are there or samskaras which are there in my unconscious mind just totally gets eradicated and the new are not getting formed, will I not be able to get enlightenment or will I not be able to get moksha or the mukti? This is the one question which has been hunting me since long.
Okay. Yes, it is true. As I already mentioned, our daily life, materialistic life, we almost slave of sensorial consciousness. Now, not letting we become slave of sensorial consciousness, but main consciousness. So thinking on main consciousness, then eventually, you see, you find something empty. Usually you see too much seeing, hearing these things. Stop these things, then just meditate, just concentrate on chit, consciousness, and gradually the feeling of 5 senses of organs reduce. Then gradually you find something empty and just clear light. So meditate or concentrate because of that there. Then gradually duration of that period can increase. The more time to just, meditate on, just think about the very nature of consciousness, empty, clear light. Then your consciousness becoming deeper. So there are different levels of consciousness, grosser level of consciousness. Then dream time or deep sleep, another level of consciousness. Then at the time of dying, deepest consciousness. So there are cases, people, after, the brain stop, body still remain fresh. So one of my American scientist, brain specialist, now he already create one project to investigate those people who after death, clinically dead, brain dead, but still body remain fresh. That is, that person, brain activities stop. When the breathing stop, then brain work stop, dead. But still, person, body still remain fresh. Why? The subtle consciousness still in the body. So in my own teacher, his case, 13 days remain that way. Sometimes, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks remain like that. So that is the experiencing the deepest consciousness. So that consciousness go from this body to next new body. So that most subtle level consciousness is pure. Sometimes we call Buddha nature. Tathagata Garva. Because of that, there is possibility all the negative emotion, very much based on ignorance, and also on the level of grosser level. So we can eliminate all destructive emotion through that kind of practice. Okay, next question.
Your Holiness, belated birthday wishes to you. Belated birthday wishes. Happy birthday for last week, and thank you so much for your wonderful words this morning. One question that I have, which is one that I get asked a lot as a teacher of religion and philosophy, is, do you think we will ever live in a world where one day there will be complete equality for all beings?
Through education, I believe, within the, I think within this century, if we make effort and a proper, systematic sort of way, then I think within this century, new generation who come through more complete form of education, then maybe more peaceful, I feel. Then, after this century, I think due to global warming, I think the world itself, whether it exists or not, one ecologist, one Chinese ecologist, he also I think, Nobel laureate. So, according to his sort of thinking, within next 4 or 5 decades, then world may become desert. no water. So at least I think till end of this century, I think we can make, through effort, we can create humanity with sense of global responsibility and based on genuine sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. I think possible, I feel. So in any way, optimistic, much better than pessimistic. Next question.
Pranams, Your Holiness. My name is Hari. My question is, why are we here? Why are we meeting you? Why are we only meeting you compared to the 7 billion people? How is this connected? What's the purpose of existence in life?
And if you accept Creator, then ask Creator. I don't know. According to Indian tradition, then karmic link. So life after life, not just one life. So we have some connection in previous lives. Sometimes maybe in different galaxies, but create some karmic link. Then after a few, eons, we born another sort of galaxies or planet and come together. That's easy. According the tradition, belief, Atma, no beginning, no end, go like that. And differences is come through karmic. Karma is action and motivation, like that. Okay.
What's the purpose?
Purpose. I have sort of simple sort of answer. Purpose of our life is happiness is our purpose of our life, including insect. They also want happy life. They do not want disturbances. So once we lost, self-confidence or something, then that very sort of motivation shortened your life. And worst thing, then suicide. So our life, existence of our life very much depend on hope. Hope means something good. So therefore, very purpose of our life is happy life. That's my view. And then want to achieve nirvana. Also, you see, we want permanent happiness. So cessation of all suffering. All these motivation is we want permanent happiness. Okay, then next question.
Hello, Your Holiness. Thank you for seeing us. My question is a combination of mine and one of my students, Natalie, who's a bit shy and she didn't want to stand up. Earlier you talked about compassion and non-violence and ways in which we should behave in the world. How do we deal when other people are not as compassionate or as kind? How do we maintain those actions? And, you know, in a world, as Natalie has said, in a materialistic world, how do we manage and live in a positive way with those things in mind?
Now, according present sort of condition, difficult. So we have to think the education should complete not only talking material value, but include how to bring peaceful mind. So it takes time, but possible. Otherwise, change the present generation, very difficult. They already, you see, develop their own lifestyle, and according the modern education, materialistic life, so difficult to change. But it is possible now, beginning of 21st century, if we make effort and a proper plan, then after 20 years, 30 years, I think a new generation who come from that kind of education will be more different. So there is possibility. Everything depends on our effort. And here I think combine our brain, analyze the situation. And we should start realistic method which help of our intelligence. Then determination, willpower from heart, determined. How should they make effort tirelessly?
So you think that us now, us who are here now, not obviously these guys' generation, but us that are here now, when we're faced with hate or racism or discrimination, yet we want to maintain compassion for the other people, how do we manage that?
I think when you quarrel with someone, then if you response, same way, anger, then that negative attitude increasing. So the other side, some negative attitude, but try to cool down. Then there is possibility eventually, because of that atmosphere no longer. I think Chinese case, my case, no matter what, you see, there are criticism. You see, we remain, for example, one occasion, one Chinese official described me as a demon. So some as the media people asked me that. So then my response is, oh, I'm demon with horn. Then it's no problem. No matter what their criticism. Important is myself, my motivation, sincere, compassionate. Then the criticism other. Sometimes you see, instead of feel angry, but feel kasa ningshi ka or feel pityness or compassion. How they are sort of ignorant, and also sometimes deliberately, you see, baseless criticism, feel compassion, not anger.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes?
Sir, you just mentioned purpose of life is happiness.
What?
You just mentioned purpose of life is happiness. Most of us are financially very successful, but if someone asks, are you happy? The question remains. There is a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. What should one do to overcome that and be happy?
You see, at material level, even you own the whole world, still you may find, oh, still I want more. In the some past history, you see, one royal family in India, of course, India story. Then he eventually, you see, he become very, very sort of powerful, very rich. And then the story says, Brahma, yes. One day, is Brahma and himself is to sit together. Then at that moment, he feels, I should be first, then Brahma. As soon as that kind of feeling comes, he fell down. So you see, desire, discontentment, I want that, I want more, no end. There is sort of saying, the rich person mentally always something, I said, I always want more and more and more, discontentment. That person always is unhappy. And then beggar, you see, daily life also difficult, but not much sort of desire or greed, and sleep soundly. So there is such saying, 추구지, 이게 심추 댕해지기, 관점대 의무지, 그렇지 되기를 사지.
The story, the moral is that at the door, the threshold of the door of a rich person, and a beggar could sleep very soundly.
All this is happiness and anxiety. These are related with mind, not the reality. Mental level, someone poor, but mentally feel very happy, then no problem. Someone is mentally not happy, then all the facility, they are still unhappy. So ultimately, happiness, unhappiness, anxiety related with motivation, the emotion. So training of our mind, our emotion, is very important. I'm Buddhist. My own sort of practice, you see, and we usually describe entire sentient being as mother sentient being. That teaching, very good. So I practice that daily. As soon as I wake up, I remember that and thinking. So long space remain, I will remain in order to serve, or so long space remain, suffering of sentient beings remain, I will remain in order to serve them. That is my source of my determination. So, in my mind, entire sentient being is my dearest friend, no enemy. Even some sort of ghost, I feel very close. So, no fear. Sometimes people, ask me, they find some kind of ghost or something. Then, with my confidence, I told them, I practice entire sentient being as a mother sentient being. So, including these ghosts. So I told that person, that ghost and me, I think I have more compassion here, more inner strength. So on my picture put beside that person bed. Oh, I told. So I need further investigation. I feel that. You see, entire sentient being, mother sentient being, all want happiness, do not want suffering, but suffering continuously because of self-centered, narrow-minded. And then like quantum physics, we too much emphasis on appearances, not the reality. Now, according to quantum physics, you see, there is huge gap, appearances and reality. The one Buddhist as a philosophy, nothing independently exists. You see, that concept very helpful. You see, to reduce very basis of exaggeration, not there. Now, some Chinese quantum physicists, they notice, who believe quantum physics, nothing independently exists, they find this strong grasping, something good and attachment, something negative, very bad, anger, fear, that reduce. Some quantum physicist, some Chinese student, they already experienced that. That's exactly the Buddhist philosophy. Nothing exists as appears. Appears something objectively. So good is good, or bad is bad. But everything not exist objectively, but much depend on observer. That's the Nagarjuna's theory. I practice that. One side, altruism. Try to reduce self-centered attitude. One, nothing exists as appears. Combine these two things, it brings peace of mind. So 84-year-old person, whole my life, I think 16, I lost my freedom. 24, I lost my own country. But hopefully, I'm one human being, quite happy human being. Thank you. All these, you see, as I mentioned earlier, same brain, same emotion, same mind, but through training and fuller knowledge, how to keep peace of mind. Then there is Shantadeva's sort of expression. When you face some problem, it is useful to analyze whether that problem can overcome or not. If that problem, through analyze, can overcome, then no need to worry. If that problem, no way to overcome, no use, too much worry. Very practical, isn't it? Very realistic, very practical, like that. Thank you. Now some picture.